Hey guys, Mumbles here with another New World video, and today I'm going to go over 5 things that I want to change in New World. Because there's a lot that, especially in the beta, that we saw that definitely I think needs some changes because it just kind of either tilted the scales for the factions in a different way, or some things just didn't seem quite right. And I definitely want to go over those and bring those to attention, so maybe the devs see this. This is also stuff that we've also talked in the Discord and stuff that I am allowed to say. So hopefully we can kind of spread this word and get other people's opinions. Get your guys' feedback down in the comments. Please let me know what you guys think about this, because this is going to be very important before launch and future patches in the future. When this game launches, there's still going to be patches, so they're still going to be working on some things, I'm sure. So I definitely want to bring this to the attention of everybody, just so that I can get your guys' feedback and see what you guys like and what you guys don't like. And speaking of likes, don't forget to drop the like down below. If you guys like this video, go ahead and drop a like. Also, again, drop a comment on your feedback. If you have any ideas that you want me to bring up to the team, please let me know. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is the crafting and harvesting. Now, I didn't have too many issues with this. I think the sounds are great and a lot of the aspects are great. The only thing that I really think this needs to be changed is the balancing on the steps of which you unlock stuff. And I've gone over this in future past videos before. But one of the things is definitely like mining is a big one, where you unlock iron at 0, silver at 10, and you unlock gold at 45, and then magical nodes at 50. There's a big gap of 35 levels there that nothing really unlocks. Maybe pushing silver back 5 or 10 levels to 15 or 20, and then maybe pushing gold up to like 35, 40 makes it more of like a progressional thing, rather than you get these two things almost immediately and then you gotta wait a long time by mining those two things till you get these multiple other things to really progress beyond there. I think that would make it a little bit more like a stairs, rather than having to jump so far up onto a ledge to progress further into the I guess tree of unlocking things in the mining category. The other thing was tanning and alchemy. You had these huge jumps of 20-30 levels before you unlock something, and then you would unlock a bunch of stuff between, let's say, I think 80 was one of the milestones. So between like 60 and 80 you didn't unlock much, but once you hit 80, it was like 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, all the way up until like 106. You unlock something consistently every level. So maybe stretching those out a little bit more to make it feel more progressional would help out a little bit. But you also don't, especially with the alchemy where you can kind of mass produce it, you don't want to allow people to progress too quick. So kind of balancing out in a way, maybe unlocking multiple things in little steps, rather than having a 30 level gap and then a bunch of stuff for 20 levels on every level. So just balancing out those so it's a little bit more progressional, rather than it just being giant steps to get to something. The second thing is war. Now, this first thing I'm going to talk about is probably going to be fixed by release, because it was a beta, it was a stress test. Was a little bit laggy. So once we figured that out, I mean, that was about the biggest issues that were in war. The other thing was tacking was hard, and I know it's supposed to be hard, it's supposed to be challenging, but unless you had a well-rounded team with a really good communication in Discord, it was extremely hard to take the fort. And for the most part, the only thing you could really hope on was putting turrets in front of the doors and just blasting your turrets through the doors. A lot of people either chose the cannon or the mortar, and we're just launching stuff in between. I mean, defense, all you had to do was jam the doors with all your CC. So all your hammers, your shields, all that kind of stuff, your great axe, and your AoE damage from your bows and ice gauntlets. That was all you did as defense. Once your turrets went down, once the doors went down, you just jammed the doors with all your CC that you could get. Maybe having a back way in, maybe a couple of ladders. Maybe you can get into or break into the bottom of the tower and get up there. Something more to add a little bit more chaos. Wars are chaotic as enough, but it was kind of hard to actually like get in as an attacker. Even though as an attacker you could put, again, your guns right in the doors, it was still hard to actually get in there because you could just hide behind the walls and all your CC guys would just stun you at the second you walked in. So that I do think needs a little bit more balancing. I don't know if there's a possibility of maybe putting up a ladder, like crafting a ladder and putting it in the back of the building. Maybe something you have to carry. Maybe it's something you just whip out and craft when you get back there. Something along those lines, just to add a little bit more chaos to it. Maybe give the attackers a little bit more options to push the fort. Number 3, we have expeditions. So gear needs to be a little bit more balanced on this, I think. There were times where like early on you were getting like kind of decent gear, And then later on, I feel like you were just getting pointless gear, like stuff that didn't really matter to you. The gear pool just felt a little weird for each state, like level of expedition. I think the gear needs to scale with the expedition, because I felt like when I was in the third or fourth expedition, I can't remember which ones are which at this point, but I felt like I was still getting like kind of lower tier gear, like way below the gear score I already had. So I hope they kind of fix this as well. I want expeditions to also unlock a little bit more lore. I want to be able to find more lore pages in expeditions that maybe click together a bunch of different lore pages from outside the expedition together, and maybe why some things happen to some farms or some islands and stuff like that. I want to be able to find something special in those lore wise that maybe connects other stories together outside. Balance between PvE and PvP. As of right now, and I know there is some talk about this changing a little bit, the XP base is very PvP focused. If you're flagged for PvP, you get a little bit more XP, as well as going and killing players, you get a lot more XP than you would in the time of harvesting a bunch of stuff. So I hope this kind of balances a little bit more so that the PvE people kind of get a little bit more feel of supporting the lands. This also kind of goes into conflict. I know a lot of people and a lot of people, the PvEers, really wanted to help out with the conflict stages from the territories to cause war by having their PvE missions count for something, even if it was a small, minute amount. They wanted it to count at least a little bit. And I could see this happening. I could see them, let's just say 10 XP for a PvP quest, but have 2 or 3 XP towards the conflict for harvesting stuff, or like PvE base. So that way that it's still accounting towards something. I think this will make it a little bit more dynamic, because a lot more people are going to be PvE based. So if you have a bunch of people pushing the scales back and forth that are PvE based, it's also going to make it a little bit more dynamic and not very you're not gonna be able to go in there with 60 or 70 people all flagged with PvP and steamroll the place. Your PvEers might actually be able to hold back that big PvP group. So I would like something that balances that out a little bit, not only for conflict, but XP as well, given to the player, and as well as points given to the town or your faction as well. So the last thing, and probably the most important thing that we're going to talk about today, is the territories. Now, not necessarily the territory areas or the outposts or settlements and stuff like that, but more of how you claim them, how they can be taken back and stuff like that. One thing I do want to talk about is the map itself. I don't think you should be able to see the map until you either choose a faction or till you're 25, level 20, 25, somewhere in there. The reason for this is if a new player comes in and they don't catch up on any streams or anything like that, if you see the map that is strictly purple and green, why would you choose yellow? Why would I choose the faction that is not represented at all? So I think not allowing the players to choose their or see the territory map until they choose a faction may deter people from always choosing the winning faction. Because if the map's entirely green and there's no purple yellow, like I'm going to be more swayed to choose the green. The other thing for this is, I guess this is kind of diving into a little bit of factions, but factions are also, again, they're kind of also mixed in with territories, because you own territories with your faction. With your faction, I think that you should be able to get some sort of buffs, whether it's territory based or whether it's player based, depending on like population. Maybe that might be able to kind of even out the playing field for territories and factions. So initial buying of the territories, either right now you just pay a lump sum of gold initially, especially if you're a streamer. You just get funneled gold through all your viewers, and you're able to just buy out multiple territories and stuff like that. So maybe having something else so that it's not just a race for the gold in the beginning. Maybe having it so 2 teams have to buy in and then they have to go to war for it. Make it a less gold amount, so maybe it's like 10k or 7,500 or something like that. But you still have to go to war, so it's possible that that buy-in may be worthless to you because you lost the war. Make it so that there is more than just an initial buy for the territory, because it makes it less of a race for the gold kind of situation. The other thing I thought about was having all the factions, or anyone who wants to partake in it, have a conflict meter, and the top 2 people that get the most faction points in that area get to fight out for the territory. Maybe you have to pay a lot less fee because you have to fight for the conflict bar in the beginning, and then you also have to go to war. Again, this makes it so it's not strictly a gold race. This makes it so that you need to do your quests there. You need to do your faction quests to get this conflict bar up so that you can declare war, and then the top 2 teams get to go to war together to take over the territory. Again, this makes it far less of a race for the gold and more of a effort to kind of take these territories. Because in any time in ancient history, if 2 people wanted to take land, they didn't just buy it, they had to go to war for it, they had to fight for it. Maybe bringing that in might not be a bad idea, because it does make it a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more intriguing for people to actually work for the land rather than just straight up buying it. Because I feel like a lot of people are not really happy with the system of just buying it, just being able to do the race for the gold situation. The last thing that kind of ties into territories is invasions. There's a lot of talk about this in the Discord, whether invasions did, I guess, extra stuff to the land, rather than if you lost, your town just got downgraded, make that more severe, or make it so that you lose X amount of gold. The other thing is, and someone else brought this up, if you lose to a invasion 5 times, you lose the territory. If you win it 10 times, you get put up against a unbeatable invasion. Invasions, I feel like, have to do a lot more to the territory. Invasions right now, essentially, when you lose the invasion, your town just gets downgraded. Make it so that if you lose 5 or you win 10, you have to go up against like an unbeatable invasion that you lose the town to. It makes it a little bit easier for people to go ahead and lose areas, especially if they don't care for the corruption portals and stuff. And this allows for invasions to be a little bit more scary than just getting downgraded, because right now people are like, oh, it's an invasion. Like, we don't really care about this town because nothing's really upgraded. Make it so that they lose the territory. If they lose the territory, that's a big thing, because then someone else can go in there and take it, and it leaves it up for grabs. And again, like, if you go up against this unbeatable invasion, maybe you get really good rewards depending on how long you go into it. Maybe if you last 5 or 6 waves, you get X rewards, but if you last 15 or 20, you get these really, really nice rewards. Even though you lose, you still get these high tier rewards because you lasted so long. And make it so that it continues to scale, so you're gonna lose at some point, rather than most games. What they do is they scale to a point where you just get the same kind of level of creatures, they just do a little bit more damage, make it more overwhelming, make more monsters come out, obviously depending on server strain and stuff like that. Because I do feel like the territories right now is just a race for the gold and doing more PvP missions than your enemies. And honestly, I would like to see PvE people have a little bit more sway and a little bit more say in this kind of area, whether it's their stuff counts for a lot less, but it still counts. That's what matters. You want them to feel like they're doing something for the battle itself, even though they're not a great PvP, they're more of a casual player, their PvE stuff will still count. And that's trying to make everyone feel like they're part of this is really, really important. So these are 5 things that I really want to change. And again, the biggest thing I want to change is territories, and probably the balance between the PvE and the PvP, with affecting the conflict bars in the territories, and as well as the XP and the experience gained from all this kind of events and stuff. I know PvE people have a lot to go on with dungeons and expeditions and world bosses that are coming in, all that stuff. But I'm super excited to kind of see this stuff balance out and see different ways for people to take territories, as well as invasions possibly taking territories, because I think that'd be insanely fun and a little bit more scary when an invasion pops up. Now, I hope you guys like this video. Go ahead and drop a like, comment, and subscribe down below. Just let me know what you guys' feedback is. If you guys have any other ideas you guys want me to bring up in the Discord for feedback and stuff like that for the game, please let me know, guys. But thank you guys. Have a great day. Goodbye. Deuces, y'all.